then they started questioning me. And then that's when they said to me, no, we're arresting you for assisting in murder, possession of ammunition. They already raided my house, and felt like because I had spent so long living in this survival state, to go into prison, I don't have to think about how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to clothe myself.
Yeah.
I'm not around no man that wants to exploit me or
Yeah.
do something to me. I'm in an environment I can control with girls. Like, I'll never forget seeing a girl slice her neck and the amount of blood that I saw. I've never seen that blood in my life.
So much.
I can relate to a lot of the girls that my organisation can support and help. They're either sectioned or they're in prisons.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? We really have built a platform that is a voice for voiceless people that can't even articulate their pain.
Yeah. Delinquent Nation, Prison Diaries. This is Aliyah.
Hi.
You're right, yeah. You got a really interesting story. I've been following you. I've been seeing things you've been doing. You're doing positive things in the community. You just opened up this charity shop. Well, you got this charity shop open up. Can you tell us a bit about that quickly?
So I'm working in collaboration with an organisation called Resole Kick, where people can donate trainers to us, and we go out and 2 days a week do outreach where we hand it out to young people who sleep in rough homeless people, basically. And we also try and find hidden homelessness, which is people who are like in hostels, children's home, refugees at the borders and stuff. And we go and just kind of hand out all the trainers to them. Wow. So I've kind of come on board to focus on the programs and how we can kind of get young people back into work, and also educating professionals on, providing a better service for young people.
Yeah. That's brilliant, man.
Thank you.
That's sick. Also, you do Daddyless Daughters.
Yes, Daddyless Daughters is my organisation, which I founded. And with that, I focus on creating a safe space, both emotionally and physically, for girls who've grown up fatherless. I'm very passionate about grooming and exploitation and teaching girls how to build healthy relationships with men.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've created that organisation for.
Yeah, that's sick, man. That's really good. And obviously, you guys can go and check it out. I've checked out. It's amazing. You're doing amazing work. It's really positive.
Thank you.
I just want to get into a bit about yourself. Obviously, you've gone to prison. That's what my thing is about. But I want to get into a bit about yourself growing up and, like maybe the household, just life growing up. How was you? And how was life growing up?
So kind of before the age of like 11, I grew up in a household where I saw a lot of domestic violence. There was a lot of violence in the house. My mum also, she's an alcoholic. So she used to like drink a lot, and she also suffers from mental health problems herself. My relationship with my biological father, he was quite in and out of my life, very inconsistent relationship that I had with him. I had an older sister and a younger brother as well. And my sister kind of left our household early. And from the minute she kind of left, everything spiraled out of control. Like,
was you by yourself? Like, did you feel kind of by yourself alone?
A lot of the time, yeah. And then I was also like sexually abused in my childhood as well, between the age of like 6 and 9.
Really?
Yeah. So all of those things, it's like layers of trauma, which I always talk about like on my Instagram and stuff. I saw and went through a lot before I reached the age of like 11, 12.
Wow, yeah.
And then the family situation broke down because of all the stuff that was going on. And my mum had to flee to like a women's domestic violence refuge.
Women's shelter, yeah.
And when she fled, I then had to go like stay with my dad for a couple of weeks. I didn't know the man like that. So I kept pressuring my sister, let me come live with you. Went to go live with my sister. And by then I was just acting out. My behaviour was crazy. I was fighting, getting arrested, getting kicked out of school. School was calling her. She has to come and pick me up. Like, I was just, didn't know how to regulate my emotions at all. The only thing I could identify with was anger.
Yeah. You've been through, like, no one should really have to go through all of that by 11. You know what I mean? And that must be super traumatic for you.
Yeah, it is. I was diagnosed with a condition called complex PTSD.
I know all about that.
Yeah.
I've read on it as well.
Yeah, so it is quite
stems
difficult.
from childhood and that. And
yeah. And before you even get that diagnosis, you get told you might be bipolar, you might have personality disorder. They confuse it with a lot of other mental illnesses. But yeah, so dealing with like those layers of trauma is very difficult. So by the time I reached about 13, how I actually went into care was through the criminal justice system as well. So I was fighting. My sister was around 18 at the time, and I was ended up in court. I remember I was on tag. No, this was before I went on tag. Ended up in court, and she just stood up in court and was like, "You need to put this kid wherever you need to put her, but she ain't coming home with me," and left the courtroom. And then that was like day one where I entered the system at 13. I remember going back down to the cells, just waiting. I was young, innocent. I thought I was going to some juvenile prison from then. So I'm trying to like gear up my spirit, get myself ready and that. But then they explained to me, no, we're gonna try to find you a children's home. I was waiting there all day, and then they eventually dropped me off in Bermondsey, and that was like my first children's home.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I needed some sort of safety and containment, but I was never trying to, like, I didn't know. I was never prepared to go to like no juvenile prison at that age, really. But then living in children's homes, I feel like it conditioned me for a longer sentence that I did when I was 18.
Of course, yeah.
That was the first time I have a sink in my room, can't open my window. It's very systematic. So I felt like I was conditioned for that type of environment. The chaos, hearing like keys walking up and down your corridor.
Yeah. Authorities
normal.
And that, yeah.
It was very normal.
How did you feel, obviously at 13 years old, how did you feel going into care? And, you know, because was you far from home or?
No, so I was put in an area which I kind of knew. Already. I really do like struggle with feelings of like neglect and abandonment because of how I grew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just feel like a lot of different moments in my life just triggered that.
Yeah.
And I had an intense internal feeling, but like I said, I couldn't identify with any other emotion other than anger. So I was just numb at a very young age. But it did make me feel like worthless, like nobody don't want me. I hadn't spoken to my mum for ever how long. Like it was a weird time. Yeah.
And did that affect, obviously you said you was getting into fights and that, but did that affect you in secondary school, you know?
Yeah, in
your
secondary
education
school,
and that?
I just became a witch, man. I just used to trouble people. Like, I just was rude. Like, I was the troublemaker at that age. We used to fight other schools. We used to just be on some shit.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was living, like, in my mum's household, I was a very sensitive kid. Like, I was calm. I was reading my books. Like, I didn't trouble nobody. I remember, like, some girls on my estate and stuff, they used to try to trouble me. My sister used to just smack them up and then we get on with life. Like, I never had to build up that persona. Whereas when I felt vulnerable when I had to leave that house, I then had to start adopting. I just lost myself. I didn't know. I had to start building a character that it wasn't me. So then by the time I get into secondary school, but I always had like stuff that was charismatic about me. I always had that one teacher that would like me, or that one person in the children's home that would like me, that would go above and beyond for me. And I had like a behaviour mentor.
Potential that they can see in you.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you just didn't see it yourself, maybe.
I can't. And I was too far gone then. I needed intervention, and you couldn't like channel my energy into anything. It was scattered by that age. And I hadn't disclosed the sexual abuse. I hadn't disclosed anything. I haven't spoken about anything. I just kept internalizing my experiences and just thinking like, I just used to blame myself.
You blamed yourself?
Yeah, I just used to, it was normalized. Like, I just thought it was normal. This is what people go through. Do you get what I'm saying?
Without having, so you said you didn't have conversations with other people in school, well, your other friends or anything about it. So what did you feel like these things was happening to other, like maybe your mates or something? Or did you
because my friends that I was around at the time as well, like, they used to get abused at home.
Yeah, okay.
We became runaway girls very early. Like, we used to all prepare, okay, we're all going to run away from home this day. Let's all pack our bag. Like, that was normal. Do you get what I'm saying? So I never come across or had friends where they had a normal life. I remember the white girls that used to live like next door. They used to go caravan and summer holidays and stuff like that. But that
wasn't,
that they weren't like, that wasn't something I knew. So yeah, man. And when I went into care as well, I used to try and tell my friends, like, you lot don't have this, you know, you can end up like coming to care, like, you don't have to have it from your parents doing what. I used to,
he was advocating for
I used to try and advocate, but really and truly, misery loves company.
You
understand? And I'm just trying to create that environment in the children's home or whatnot. And then you go into children's home as well and you start building friendships with all these kids, and we're just all fucked. We've been through like some fucked up things. So it's like in prison, when you get a bunch of criminals together, we're just going to start conspiring. We're going to start figuring out how to get better at this. Do you get what I'm saying? So it was very much like like that at that young age.
Yeah.
And I even remember when I got permanently kicked out of secondary school, they had a party for me. Like, it was weird. Yeah, we all went Chinese restaurant
So
with a couple of teachers and stuff like that. And it was those little moments that made me feel like I could be somebody. Like,
some worth.
Yeah.
Where probably you was missing that worth before.
100%.
From when they're kicking you out and throwing a party, would you say you got excluded or you left?
Yeah, I got permanently excluded.
Oh, yeah. And they threw a party for you.
Yeah, and then we all went Chinese, did karaoke. Like, I remember it. But I feel like that was my behaviour mentor going above and beyond, because she knew I was in care. She knew, like, she would sit down with me and try and figure out certain things with me. But it was too far gone. And then she even tried to get her sister to foster me at one point as well.
Really?
Yeah. And I went and I met the family, and I quite integrated well with their family. But then social service told me I wasn't fosterable. But at that time, I didn't know what it meant. And not being fosterable meant I was under a section, I can't remember if it's section 20 or 21, which means I was under like a voluntary care order. And they couldn't make any decisions about my life without my mum co-signing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my mum preferred for me to be in care. Like, my mum's quite damaged. So she just feels like she was an adopted child herself. So it's like, just make her get on with it type of thing. She ain't going to live with nobody else.
Yeah.
That's the type of attitude that she had.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that chaos is kind of going on. And then every children's home that I live in is in the middle of an estate. And I grew up on a big estate anyway. So like, now people know I'm out here.
Yeah.
And I can be quite useful
Yeah.
to people. And I started like forming friendships and feeling like people were my friends and they weren't. And it was
guys
quite
in the estate and that.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was easy to make girls like me feel like we had a worth just by buying us dinner that day.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Because I got to feed myself. I got to clothe myself. Like, I'm a real life street kid.
Yeah.
So just those small little things that they would do made me believe that these people were my people. Yeah. And they weren't. And then turning 16 now, back then, you get your flat at 16. It's a trainee flat.
Yeah.
So now I'm vulnerable. I'm 16. I'm the only one amongst my friends that's got a set up now. And plus I was like, always had like, for people that were going through things or like arguing with their parents, like I said, I always just say, just come stay with me or whatever. My misery likes company. You get what I'm saying? So all of that started happening. People's like, we was involved in a lot of stuff at a young age. I was probably taught like how to bag up and do that type of stuff at like 14. Yeah. By the time I hit 15, I was building lines. By the time I hit 16, like I had girls bagging up boxes. Then I was, then two of us will go and do like the county lines, do the drops. And we had a proper system going. So by the time I reached 16 now, it was all
when you was doing this, when you was doing like all the county lines and all the bagging up and that, was you doing it with guys and that, or was it just your thing?
No, I was doing it for guys.
Oh, for guys.
Yeah.
Because obviously as a woman, I was just thinking as you said that, like, did you not have any like anyone trying to rob you or anything like that, if that's what you was doing? But if obviously you were doing it with certain people, then you're more protected, I guess, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You would be kind of vulnerable, a woman doing all of that.
100%. But we were kidnapped by crackheads. Like, crackheads try to rob us, like, young, needles to necks, being bricked in the face. Yeah, like we was exposed to all of that. And the only time I was actually really exposed to other people trying to rob us and stuff was when I started going country. Not realising there's all guys from North London or East London that are trying to set up shop in the same area. It's like a proper cat and mouse type of environment. So you got to like watch out for the police, and you got to watch out for other drug dealers in the area. Then you also got to watch out for the crackheads, especially when you're new. They will rob you, Exactly. They will rob you. Because they will rob you as well. So that also becomes like traumatic, all those experiences as well. So by the time I reached 16, in my area, like everybody kind of, I don't know, they all started like, a lot of like gang warfare started happening around Peckham around that year. And then 2 shootings like happened outside of my flat. And this is when I realized, okay, this is like serious. Like I said, because of like how thick we was in it, I wouldn't realize, okay, well, one guy that I'm bagging up for, he's now got a problem for the next guy, and they're both coming to collect stuff from me on that day, and they're meeting up outside my house and they're trying to kill each other. These scenarios started happening. So I started to realize, hold on, I'm vulnerable here. This is not making sense anymore. And I remember going back to social service and saying to them, like, I've kind of got involved in stuff that I shouldn't be involved in, and I need a new flat, basically.
Yeah.
And by then, they kind of had enough of my shit anyway. They just was thinking, you just need to relax, go back to college or do something if you want us to rehouse you or give you a different placement. So they just placed me like on the other side of Peckham, basically. They gave me another flat, but on the other side of Peckham.
So you're still in the same area, really.
Still in the same area, just on the other side,
yeah.
basically. And the same things continuously started happening. And then another shooting happened outside of that flat. And then within like 3 months, was it 3 months? I would say like within 3 months, the house got raided, and then, yeah.
Is that the first time you got arrested? Well, obviously, like on the serious.
Yeah.
And was this what you went prison for?
No, so
this is the first time. So tell us a bit about that then. Like,
well, before as well, before I left that flat, I was raped in that flat.
really?
Yeah. So
And
I remember
this is sorry to cut you. I just want so people can get some context. This is after you've already been sexually abused as a child.
Yeah.
So it's happened again now.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So I remember, because I think like I sold myself a story saying I had a feeling I needed to just leave that flat. But when I was thinking about it not too long ago, because I'm constantly going to therapy and stuff, I blocked out certain things that have happened like in my life. And that's kind of what trauma can do to you as well. And I forgot like a lot of the things that happened in that flat because of the sexual abuse that happened, that event that happened. And then it was like 2 days after that, I remember packing my suitcase and just going to my sister's house. And then 2 days after that, I'm opening the door. I'm still like doing country lines and stuff. So I've literally got my bag, going to country, open the door, and there's just a bunch of men standing there in suits asking me, started like backing me up or whatever. And I'm just like, thinking, what the hell are they here for? Because if I was going to be arrested for anything, I'll be like arrested on job type of thing.
Yeah.
So then they started questioning me. And then that's when they said to me, no, we're arresting you for assisting in murder, possession of ammunition. They already raided my house and there was like some dead drugs in the house and bullets and stuff.
So they arrested you for assisting of a murder.
Yeah, possession of ammunition and possession of Class A with intent to supply.
Possession with intent to supply.
Yeah.
So, and how old did you at that point?
17.
17.
Yeah.
You must have been
Shook.
Shit
I
in
was
it.
finished. The same feeling I got going down like those stairs to go into care is the same feeling I met that day.
Yeah.
I thought my life was
over.
Finished.
And do you mind me? How old are you? If you don't mind.
Now,
me?
28.
28.
Yeah.
So these times would have been IPP times when I was giving out IPP.
Yeah.
That would have been before 2012, innit?
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd probably looking at life or IPP at the minimum. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And I didn't even know anything at that
About
age.
that,
I didn't know
yeah.
anything about IPP or anything. I just thought I was finished. Like, what did I get myself into? For what, basically? And then, because I refused to go back to the flat. And anyway, the landlord had enough of me with all the commotion that was going on. And social service said, basically, you're making yourself intentionally homeless. They then put me like in B&Bs. So I lived in B&Bs for like a year.
A year after you'd been arrested, so you'd been bailed.
Yeah, I had been bailed. I had to sign on the police stations and all of that malarkey. And then after that,
for that year, because you know, it's deep mentally, you know, for a year knowing you got assisted murder, and all of these things hanging over your head. For a year, you must have been stressing, no?
Yeah, I was stressed. But I've constantly had to live in survival mode.
Yeah, cool.
So I also, like I said, that character that I had to build up, that mask that I had to wear, is like, okay, well, now I'm living in B&B. I ain't got time to really actually process or think about these things because I've just been sexually assaulted. I'm living in B&Bs where my neighbours are flipping grown alcoholic. He's walking to the shower with no... I just felt so vulnerable.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah, I'm thinking I need to... The only place I felt safe, or what's the next move? Country. Let me go country. Do what I do know best. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then went to Colchester with another girl. And then literally the day we landed in Colchester, police just surrounded like the petrol station that we was in and arrested me.
Would you be in follow then?
Yeah.
Yeah, watched.
Yeah. And then that was me. That was after my 18th birthday, and then that was me in Holloway on remand because I was already on bail.
Yeah.
And
So
they found drugs and everything around me when they arrested me.
So now you're in Holloway now. Can you describe like the process? So going from police station to Holloway, and then obviously the reception part, how it was for you, and do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the induction procedure, if you know what I'm saying.
I was wild. So like that procedure for me, I'm still living in survival mode, yeah. They found the drugs in the car.
Yeah.
I'm in reception trying to plug drugs there.
Swear down.
Yeah, because I still had drugs on me.
On you, yeah.
So I'm fighting with them. It's all going off really in the police station. And then going into Holloway, just constantly like flashbacks to me. It's like the day I walked into the children's home.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? There was loads of commotion, loads of people talking, whatever. I just wanted to understand the process. I was surprised to see a TV in my cell. Like I was prepared for proper bang up. Yeah. Like, so I was surprised to see a TV. Like all the things that I started to see, I was thinking, all right then.
Yeah.
All right then. And then by the time I come off induction ring in 2 weeks, I was settled, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I felt like because I had spent so long living in this survival state, to go into prison, I don't have to think about how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to clothe myself.
Yeah.
I'm not around no man that wants to exploit me or do something to me. I'm in an environment I can control with girls. And I don't care. Like I would wear prison issue.
Yeah.
I would still, my friends and family would send me things here and there, but I could relax. And I lived in a state of solitude for most of my sentence.
Yeah. So describe your first night in prison, like how you felt. Obviously coming into the cell, obviously I don't know if you was ever into prison stuff before that, if you ever heard about prison before that. You must have, because your circles and that. Like you must have felt like, obviously like you said, maybe you didn't think there were going to be any TVs, or did you think you was going to get bullied, or do you think you're going to have any problem with the girls? Maybe.
I knew, I thought, because Holloway, innit? It's just the name and the stigma that comes with Holloway. Yeah. I was feeling like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, are these girls really about this life? How are they going to try and like deal with me or whatever? And that was really it. That was the only type of thoughts that I had. Yeah. But like, I was wild as well. So I didn't really ponder on that too much. My thing was my sentence. Where's this going? Because I still have all this stuff looming over my head.
You do a lot of focusing on yourself, especially while you're in remand as well. Like you do a lot of focusing on that.
So that was my main thing, is like, how am I going to get the fuck out of the situation? Because I still have hope, maybe, we're a bit delusional and stuff. So I was thinking like around all this information, and now I had time to like read and do all of that. That's what I was mainly focused on. I remember my first night, like my first love, I remember writing him a letter. Yeah. The first night that I got there. And that was it.
So your first, was he outside? Was he on?
No, he was in jail.
He was in jail as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember writing to him and trying to explain to him why I ended up in jail and blah, 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 blah. And then after that, I can't really remember much after that.
Okay, so obviously after the remand period, you've gone to court.
All cases, all charges have been dropped.
Okay, but obviously, was you in the Old Bailey?
No, I was because I got arrested in Colchester. They transferred my case to down there.
Oh yeah, so you'd been out there somewhere.
Yeah, it was in Colchester Crown Court.
Colchester Crown.
Yeah.
So you've gone there. So these times the charges are, would you say, assisted in murder?
Yep.
And so by the time you've gone to trial, had these charges been dropped yet? Or
they just, when I was in prison, they come and told me they was dropping the assisting the murder and possession of ammunition.
Oh, okay.
Then he started his trial. The guy who did that crime, he started his trial, and he was probably sentenced before I even got sentenced.
Yeah,
anyway.
So that's more time why they dropped it, because he's obviously been found guilty for it.
Yeah, he was found guilty.
Yeah. Okay. So this time, when you're going to court now, you're only trying to deal with the drugs now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Did you know what type of time you could have got?
Well, like the girls around me was telling me they got 2 years. One got like 16 months. The only ones that had like 4 years and above were like the ones that were bringing it on airplanes and stuff.
Yeah.
What's that charge called again? Importing.
Importing.
Yeah. The girls that were like importing drugs and stuff, but they were like yardies or old
Yeah,
African aunties and stuff like that. So I didn't really, and I was a YOI. So
Yeah,
the
so you
YOI
knew,
wing that I'm on, a lot of the girls there weren't really in for like mad drug charges. So I was thinking, well, yeah, around like 2 years, maybe 3 years is good, and I can still get tagged. Like I'm still trying to sell myself this story or whatever.
So what did you end up getting?
I got 4 years.
4 years, so not even allowed tagged then.
No.
Yeah, you
And I was
just
so
missed
pissed.
it.
Yeah, I was just missed. That's what everybody says, isn't it? Oh, you just missed it. Like, yeah, thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. So when you got given 4 years, so you know you got to do 2 years now inside. How did you feel about that? Would you feel like this you can ride it because of you'd have spent at least 6 months in remand before you got sentenced? So
Yeah, I felt. Yeah, I just felt like I'm just gonna ride this. Like I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
Like time is gonna keep on going, and I just gotta kind of keep my head down and focus on that really.
Yeah. Was there like there's a culture in prison, because I do speak to a lot of women that's been in prison or whatever, and then there's a culture where you got like studs and pussy politics. That's what it's called. Did that exist when you was there?
Of course, people writing each other love letters. But I remember the first day I was standing on the wing and I was on the phone or whatever, and I saw some girl. She walked in. She looked like a man.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Even I was like. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot of that stuff goes on, and then they start arguing with each other and fighting each other and doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but over like relationships.
Over relationships, yeah.
Or some girl chatting to someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It's that void, man. Like I told you, a lot of the girls as well had been through a lot in their childhood, so like they needed and they'll do anything to fill that void.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Whether it's man, woman, drugs, alcohol, anything fills those holes in your heart.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And that cycle just keeps repeating itself. And it's always the girls as well that were like comfortable being in jail. They go home 1 month, they're back a couple months later.
Yeah.
Like you see the pattern in them.
Yeah. And that's painful as well, because it's like, it's true, like a lot of people choose like drugs or whatever, or like it could be anything, but it does fill the void. So
exactly.
I mean, 'cause I know a lot of people, they go in, they do what they're doing, they come out and it's just
it never happened.
Like it never happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess it is kind of like, I've never looked at it like that. So like that's quite insightful, but it could be like a coping mechanism.
100% it is.
Yeah.
When I was young, promiscuity, that's how I coped.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I started self-medicating, smoking weed at a young age. I was on anything to fill the void. I was drinking vodka in parks when I was a care kid. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you'll do anything just to forget the fact that nobody actually cares.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming to look for you.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
It's deep, but
it's deep, man.
It's real. So how did you cope in prison?
So I coped by writing, drawing, and like I said, solitude. Like I got used to being on basic, being in my own head, in my own mind.
Do you prefer your own company? Anyways?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm
quite
like
introverted.
100%.
Yeah. I'm the same. So like
I can be social, but like I know when enough's enough, and then I'll go quiet for days.
Yeah. You can do that. It's not a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Not a problem to me, but it's a problem in relationships.
Oh,
You're trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. People
get
to
on with your
understand.
life. Yeah, it's hard for other people to understand.
Yeah.
But I'm like that. I can go days without saying a word, without even talking.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like the most empowered, like at my best. I'm having the greatest thoughts. I'm writing the greatest stuff. Like I'm very much like that.
Yeah.
But I felt like that time gave me a period where I could connect with that girl that I kind of lost in my household, that sensitive side of me that was introverted, that just liked to read, that just liked music, that just was happy doing her own thing.
Yeah. I was having this conversation like with someone the other day, like I feel like it's really difficult outside. Well, you got your freedom and you've got loads of distractions and everything like that. I feel like it's really difficult for someone to find themselves. You've got all these different distractions. You're trying to impress this person. You're trying to be that person. Like you said, the mask earlier on, you're putting on all these different masks for social media, all for the roads, whatever. But I feel like when you go to jail, especially for a minute, like you get time to actually sit down and think about how everything led up
Exactly.
to where you are now, when you do find yourself and you do begin to understand yourself more. Is that how it was for you?
Not in Holloway.
No.
Not until I got shipped out of Holloway.
Was it more like social in Holloway, or was it more like...
Yeah, Holloway was just like a big youth club.
Yeah.
It was just on some shit. Like there was not a day I didn't laugh in Holloway. Like then when I went to Drake Hall, it was more about me asking myself those questions, like, who am I? Where do I want to go in life? What do I want to do? What are my gifts? Like, what comes naturally to me? And also addressing, like, my demons, the things that I've hidden from people for so long, like all the lies that I told, like all these things that were happening in the shadows that I'd never really could connect with. I could always tell my story, or like, you know, like I say, switching on masks and stuff like that, but I never had that emotional connection to a lot of the things that happened to me. And I feel like in Drake Hall, that's when I started. I met this girl and she was like still my friend till this day. She used to like say things to me. She came from a total different background. She grew up in like Peterborough. She was on her way to go in uni. Like I said, she didn't grow up around, she weren't the type of friend that I grew up around. All the stuff that I would tell her like, about growing up, it was like a movie to her. She's like, what?
Literally,
And she came to jail for like bottling a girl, and she's the one that told the police she did it. Like, she's so innocent. Do you get what I'm saying? So she used to start like telling me like about all these talents that I had, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I used to block it at first, and then I used to like go back to my cell and think, oh, maybe I am good at this, or like maybe I can explore that, and
start to embrace certain things as well, innit?
And that was kind of where I started to, and I read less basic time there. Like I started to try and conform with like the regime and how get a job and just keep your head
just
down.
Cut through,
So
cause a lot of time, do you know what it is, especially with young offenders, and you're a young offender at the time, but like a lot, you're there fighting the system, you're there fighting that, and then at one point it's just like
you're tired, man.
Yeah, you're tired. There's no, because you can't really beat this. It's not from inside anyway. It's really, really difficult to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? So a lot of like the young offenders or the younger prisoners would like be fighting the system, fighting like useless arguments that's gonna get you nowhere. You're going block after this anyways. But then eventually you have to just like, it's called playing the game, innit? You got to play the game to cut through and just, you know what I mean?
But like I said, the only emotion we can identify with as traumatized kids is anger. So we're so angry at what we've experienced, how we ended up in these situations, all these things. We're bound to lash out. That's why I'm so passionate now about like helping professionals to understand that. Because if they could figure out how to nurture these people, whether we're in prison, children's home, wherever, then I feel like those seeds can kind of be planted sooner. I could not identify with any other emotion. Do you know how crazy that is?
That's nuts. Not even love.
Not even love. Like you're numb to the only thing I can feel is anger. And it was a physical sensation I used to get as well.
In your chest?
In my chest, in my stomach. Like, and I need to release it one way or another. So it was when I started like seeing those things. And a lot of the girls that I was with up in Drake Hall as well, like they were different. They were, a lot of them were on drugs. A lot of them like had been exploited. Mad. And like they were riding birds. I was with girls that were like doing 14 years just for like similar drugs, guns, all these kind of things. So I kind of like started talking to people. Obviously I still had to survive in prison, so I was selling drugs still in prison. But
just to touch on that, 'cause in fact I'll touch on it later. Go on, so
I still had this need, like, why are we like this? Like I used to try and talk to people, like, even though I had two sides to me and everybody knew it, I still would have those type of conversations, and people started like talking to me about their childhood and things that they had never spoken to anybody about. And that started to give me a sense of like, it's like a muscle. It started to like build
Build,
within
yeah,
me, and I started gearing myself up to be able to tell my story.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, like, because you hadn't really spoken about everything you said, like, before to your friends and that or whatever.
Nah.
And then, so was the first time you opened up was that in jail?
I would say, yeah, the first time I fully opened up was that with that friendship.
Yeah,
With
because
that
they had
girl.
gone through similar things as well, innit? Or
Nah, because she came from a completely different world, but it
are you talking
wasn't.
about the Peterborough
Yeah,
lady?
the
Oh,
Peterborough
yeah,
girl,
yeah,
but it wasn't until we started talking about childhood and stuff, because she grew up in Portugal as well. She came here as like she's the kid of like immigrants and stuff like that. She started speaking about, it was the same for her in Portugal. She started running away from home. She was sexually abused as well. And then that's when I started to notice it's the anger, because even though she was an innocent girl or whatever, anybody pissed her off in jail, she was gonna fight. Like she'd deal with the situation.
What was your favorite food in jail?
Hash browns.
Hash browns.
Yeah. And my friend, the Peterborough girl, she was my hash brown thief boy. She used to work, she used to work in the kitchens. And yeah, she used to bring me back loads of hash browns. Only on Fridays, I remember we used to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used
What
to.
did it come with, like, beans and sausage?
Yeah,
or-
because Fridays was like our
Fry up day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fry up
yeah.
day and whatnot. So I used to really look forward to hash browns.
Hash browns. What about the worst food in jail?
The cereal was the worst thing for me.
Because it was just not really cereal, is it?
No,
Yeah.
it's like some fake cereal.
Yeah, what
The
is it?
milk's
Yeah.
fake.
Yeah.
Like the whole experience of cereal is now ruined.
Yeah, do you think so?
Yeah.
You can't really go back to it.
I couldn't go back to it for a long time.
I can't eat oats now,
Is it?
porridge and stuff like, because I ate so much porridge in jail. Do you know what I mean? Like now I just make noodles and things like this.
Noodles, yeah.
How do girls cook their food? Or do you even do that, or do you just eat it on the server?
I went on it. Like I wasn't trying to even figure out. So like I just like aunties, like there was some old school African aunties there that used to make some pepper stew and stuff like that.
And they just used to give you some.
Yeah, she used to give us some. We used to make more like childish things like desserts and just mix up bare snacks together.
Yeah.
And that's how we used to eat, really.
Yeah.
I don't remember trying to actually cook anything in my kettle, other than noodles.
Noodles, yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you got it in it. Because I used to only cook noodles in the kettle, car. It's like because obviously there's no microwave or nothing like that, and
No, so you have to leave it in the bowl.
yeah, people do the bowl and then put the plate over the bowl.
Yeah.
But for me, it didn't do it enough. It didn't
not
cook
the
it
same.
enough. Yeah,
I know.
yeah. So I used to just whip it in the kettle. What I went to get onto as well, because you touched on it a bit earlier. Contraband and the drug and mobile phone culture in prison. I spoke to another girl about this, but she'd only done, I think she'd done 9 months,
Okay.
18 months, do 9. I think that's what she did, yeah. So she didn't really have an experience with that. She said that she saw one phone the whole time, and that's because the girl came in with it by accident, kind of thing. Like, how is it rife?
No, it's not rife.
Nah?
It's not rife. Drugs is.
Oh, is it?
Drugs is, but phones and stuff like that, no. And I didn't really take interest in that type of stuff anyway. I weren't the type of like prisoner who cared about like visits and phoning home and all this kind of stuff. Like I said, I was like solitude, and I didn't really like teasing myself like that either.
Yeah.
So phones, from what I know of, I only know of like when I was in Holloway, one phone that was floating about.
And everyone was using it.
Yeah. And then when I went to like Drake Hall, drugs were like everywhere, accessible. But it was a semi-open prison as well, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I was just trying to figure out, like, because like I said, I've spoke to so many different like ex-female prisoners, and you know what I mean, and it's always like it's not really like that, you know. Whereas in men's prison, it is flooded, you know what I mean, and it comes in all types of ways, you know what I mean, and especially like with like sometimes it might all be a man's girl bringing in a parcel and a visit and that. So I was thinking, like, was men coming through for women? Was men bringing in? Do you know what I mean? Was that happening? Like,
No, not
So-
from what I know. But you know what? There's the odd like white couple. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That are like on whatever.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
her
They just
boyfriend got out before her,
Yeah.
so now he's doing a visit, and we all know what that visit's about,
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
But not like there was no consistent method
Yeah,
of guys bringing it in for girls. In Drake Hall, it was more of the girls just going out to work, doing what they do, and bringing us back drugs.
yeah. That's mad.
Yeah.
All right. Do you feel like there was rehabilitation in in your prison experience? Like, not within yourself. I mean, externally, was people trying to rehabilitate you? Did you feel like there was any type of rehabilitation in the prison system?
No, there's just obviously courses that you gotta go and take, because
behavior courses.
behavior courses and all that kind of
I don't
stuff.
think
for
they work
probation,
though.
they don't
Yeah,
work. And you're sitting in a room, like, I don't know, it was weird experiences that I used to have taking those type of courses. But other than that, I don't remember any sort of like solid rehabilitation process that would work for the girls, especially, like I said. And that was where I started to sort of see the gap, and I started to notice we just all dysfunctional. We don't know how to operate in relationships. We don't know how to tell if a man is for us or if he's against us. And there's none of those conversations being sparked within prisons. And half of us are in here, not even half of us, a good 75% of us are in here for crimes that were committed with men, for men, or around men, like men operated it. And we grew up without dads. So I kind of started to connect the dots when I was in prison, because there was that lack of support and that system, really. Even when I got released from prison, I was released to my mum's house. Whereas if they cared about where I was coming from, the life I had experienced previously and whatnot, that would that have happened. I wasn't given, as a care kid, any sort of accommodation or any sort of options. So
really?
Yeah. So no, I really, the rehabilitation process, it makes me angry still to this day in prison. And I don't know. There was, like I said, there were so many girls that come in and out, and I saw go through that cycle. I feel like my life has shown me so many different crossroads. And in Drake Hall, I met that crossroad where it's just like, you need to find whatever it is deep within your core and drag it out and understand life. Full stop. Because if you go out and continue to make these choices, you're going to be like these girls. And then you'll be doing another 2 years, and it's long. It's long. I was so tired of like fighting the system. I was so tired of it. I was so tired of it. I've been being twisted up like a duck from the age of 13. Do you understand? So it was getting long, man.
Like a darkest memory in jail, like your darkest moment.
Yeah, my darkest moment was when my best friend found out that his mum had cancer, and like...
Your best friend in prison or your best friend outside?
No, he was outside.
Okay.
And like, I felt like a lot of the things that he was going through and I couldn't be there for him, I started feeling like guilty. I started like going to some dark places in my mind. Because also I felt like I knew what it feels like to go through certain things and not have people. So when I really love somebody, it really hurt me that he was going through all of this. He was his mum's carer. Like, he was literally watching his mum die. So my only wish when I was in prison was, I just want to get out before she dies, and I can be there for him.
Yeah. That's real though. That's real shit, man.
That was really dark,
One thing you're proud about within your sentence, like what was you proud of coming out of prison?
I was proud of the way I empowered myself and the way I empowered other girls as well.
So was you like you said, your head was everywhere in Holloway, and then you went to Drake Hall. Was you uplifting people?
Yeah, like I always had, like I said, this thing about me that...
As I was just about to touch on that, did you that's like you figuring out your skills and that, like, you know, people actually listen to you, and you know what I mean, you're making impacts on people and things like this. So did that help to build you as well?
100%. Because I used to think these girls are so dumb, they're not listening to me, like, and they would actually... we would have deep conversations, you get what I'm saying? But then a week later or whatever, I'd walk past their cell and I'll hear them quoting me or something. And I'll think, think like, wow, okay, so you're actually listening. Like, they knew sense when they could hear it. But they were still internally in places that they couldn't really, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't drag out certain things in them. But I've always been a strong character. So I feel like I rubbed off on them in ways. Do you get what I'm saying? Even to the point where like I met them timid, and then later on, a couple months, you're chatting shit to me. I'm like, whoa, you're really feeling yourself.
Yeah.
But I liked it at the same time.
Of course,
I liked building those relationships
empowering
with them.
people,
No matter what. And then it would just become banter or whatever. So I was really proud of that. And that also showed me a side to myself. Like I said, I was able to figure out who I wanted to be, man, and my character, and develop that feeling of those relationships that I was building with the girls. And I feel like that planted seeds for daddyless daughters.
Being in a female prison, like, did you witness loads of fights and things? Did loads of fights happen? Not really.
Not really. It's just like, it's girls, isn't it? Have you grown up in a house full of women? Do you have sisters?
I've got sisters, yeah.
Just nagging. It's just a lot of like, just a lot of talking.
Yeah.
A lot of talking.
So it wasn't much.
Weren't much things kicking off. Like,
so I was gonna ask you, like, what was the worst injury you've witnessed in a female prison?
See, the most things, and this is what we have to understand, like, about women and the way women deal with trauma and the way men deal with trauma. Women internalize it. So the worst thing I saw was a girl slice her own neck. Not somebody else coming to harm her or whatever. It's the self-harm.
Yeah.
You're seeing girls with scars from here to here, all on their neck, all on their face. They don't love themselves. They really don't understand their worth. Yeah. And those are the things that I used to think, wow, like, it's too much.
It stick with you a bit.
It stuck with me a lot. Like, I'll never forget seeing a girl slice her neck and the amount of blood that I saw. I've never seen that blood in my life.
So much, yeah. I used to see a lot of self-harm going on in men's prison. Men go through the same thing. I think they are probably internalized. I've never really looked at it in any type of way. I've just thought, right, you're going through some things, but I've seen people chop their faces up and then all the way down to there. And,
Jeez.
Sometimes he didn't get his milk. So he's gone back to his cell and he's chopped, or he's run out of burn, or he's run out of burn to smoke. So he's gone and chopped up for them to go and bring it. He don't care as long as, do you know what I'm saying? And it's bad. And touching on that, how is like the mental health? So obviously you got a lot of mental health in prison. I think most people shouldn't be in prison. A lot of people should be in mental houses. Yeah. Some people just shouldn't be there. Like, it's not for them. They should be looked after differently, kind of thing. But did you have help with mental health in prison, or
no? I don't.
They're just giving out medication. That's what they do.
That's what they do. Yeah, meds. And then like for like the first few months, I didn't even notice what was going on with these meds, even though I'm hearing it every day. Then I start asking people, what are you lot on meds for? And then I started to understand the mental health side of it. But there was no sort of, I would say, the religious leaders in female prisons created safer spaces for women to explore that side of what was going on.
When you say the religious leaders, what do you mean?
So like the imam that would come around and check on us. And
I thought you meant like a woman, but she was like a religious leader. Do you know what I'm saying? A prisoner.
No, I mean the imams that come in, or the
preachers and
stuff like that. They would more so make an effort to come around and check on people's mental state and ask you about how you're feeling. Yeah. Or, explore certain things with you around that. Other than that, I've never had no experience of these people caring.
Have you thought about maybe getting into prison reform? Because you speak a lot of sense and you sound like like you kind of know what to do, basically. Do you know what I mean? What these lot ain't really doing. Have you ever thought about getting into prison reform?
100%. I've done, since coming out, I've done a lot of work. I've trained probation officers. I've trained yacht workers.
That's big, yeah.
I've done a lot of work with the Prison Reform Trust. I've recently had a meeting with the Ministry of Justice, and now they're starting to spark conversations about me going back to women's prisons and stuff like that. Wow, but nothing before its time. I'm not pressing or forcing any type of situation either.
That's just something I've identified that I think you'd be really good at.
And I want to, because I feel like a lot of the girls that I can relate to, a lot of the girls that my organisation can support and help, they're either sectioned or they're in prisons. Do you get what I'm saying? We really have built a platform that is a voice for voiceless people that can't even articulate their pain and their stories. Do you get what I'm saying? So I can't wait to kind of get in those spaces. But I'm just trusting God and hoping that when he builds me to get there, I'll definitely show up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, come on. All right, so toward the end of your sentence, was like, what was you Was you anxious about anything like in regards to coming out? Because obviously you had such a hectic life out there, yeah. Loads going on, like, you know. I know you haven't even said everything. Do you know what I mean? But you know, you kind of found a safe space in jail. You know, how did you feel coming towards the end of your sentence?
Like I need to put the mask back on. To
Really?
be honest, yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah. For
Really?
the first like 8 months, and I even corrupted the Peterborough girl. So that's where I went when I came out to go and do stuff up there.
Yeah.
But every day this girl will be telling me I need to change my life. You need to do this. You need to do that every single day. Then one day I was just like, I quit. Cool, whatever. Let's do a university application. And she helped me do a uni application. I went uni for a bit, then dropped out of uni. Then I started job hopping. But I made that one promise that I'm never going back. And I don't want to associate with anybody that I know from that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Aliyah is not my birth name. So I also went through a process of like doing a lot of voluntary work, trying to like build my reputation back up to a place where my council could trust me to work with young people. I was very passionate about working with these type of girls. And I remember I went for a job interview for a paid position. It was my first like career type paid position. It was like 27 grand. I was like super excited. And I went to the job interview and it was like in my old children's home, in my old bedroom. And then that knocked me again, like emotionally.
What?
So basically, the children's home I used to live in, they renovated it and made it office spaces, but they didn't renovate it to a point where we couldn't tell the layout and what it was. So when I went there, I ended up in my old bedroom, in my old children's home, in front of a board of people that were like my old social workers, managers, and their managers. So they knew of me when shootings are happening outside my house. I'm being arrested for assisting murders. Do you get what I'm saying? And I'm presenting myself as a reformed character, and they're laughing at me really and truly. And that's when I realized life was chess. Because I weren't ready for that. And I felt blindsided. But they knew who they was welcoming into that building, into that room.
They knew it was you.
They knew.
Yeah.
So then that's when I realized, oh, so you don't think you're gonna play games with me? Cool. I'm changing my name.
Okay.
And then the next job interview I went to was for the guy, you know, the flats that I used to live in.
Yeah.
The landlord that owned those flats.
Really?
Yeah, and I tested myself. I said, if I go like in this room and he don't recognize who I am, and he don't like understand what's going on, I'm winning and I'm gonna stay on my path. And I won that interview and I got that job. And the money was like, the contract was even more than what I went for before. But that it's so like, my character has been so tested like so many times on this journey, trying to like do Daddyless Daughters, trying to prove to these people that know the old version of me. And this is why I come out and I'm so raw with my story and like my revelations that I've had in my story, because for so long I've allowed other people to tell who I am through their own lens. Do you get what I'm saying? I never actually took the time to explain to people why I was the way I was, who I was, and the household I was coming from. So that's why now, and I encourage my girls so much to speak your truth, you know, because people are going to try and tell versions of you that you're not going to like. And then
happens.
For so many times, I was then feel shameful. Like I start judging myself and I'm thinking, hold on, it's not even the truth.
What these That's just what they're trying to push in. Yeah, it's true.
So,
but I got to give it to you, like big respect and big props for like coming out here and, you know, telling your story and obviously, because there's probably a lot of other women and young men as well that have probably gone through similar stuff that you've gone through, and they've probably too embarrassed to talk about certain things, and you know, you're kind of paving the way for that in a way. Do you know what I mean? For like people to come through you. Do you know what I mean? But that's very inspiring, and that's big respect for that, man.
I hope so. It's still hard, you know, to this day. Like I said, complex PTSD, living with that is not easy. And I'm triggering myself on this journey, like, I'm also exposing myself to allow other people to trigger me.
Do you find that like talking about it makes it easier though? Like, because when 100%. It's all internal, like it's like a bottle in it. It's like it's gonna explode at one point. Do you know what I'm saying? So the more you talk about it, are you finding it more easier? Like,
I am. I'm finding it more easier. I'm finding it more easier to connect myself to my story, to connect my emotions to it, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
But that's something that I'll constantly stay in therapy for the rest of my life. Like, I know myself, and I know at any point I still look at like my mom. I look at all the aunties that in my family, and unfortunately, mental health is something that we will all struggle with for a long time. And I saw women go to sleep and wake up and they were never themselves. And I always have that fear in the back of my head that like one day I'll just go sleep, I'll wake up and might lose my mind. I'm not operating the same again. So that's why
You're worried about actually losing your mind, like actually, like, you know, schizophrenic or something like that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that as well because a couple of my friends that like I've grown with just turn mad, like, but just like that. I don't know how it happened, and especially when you're going through traumatic experiences like prison or your story, it's easy for your head to fall off, and it's easy for you to just, because it's like, I think it's like a balance inside. I don't know how it works inside your head, but there's a balance, like, and then, you know, one day you can just wake up and your head falls off. So,
and I don't know what that threshold will be, because I feel like I've endured so much pain, but that's why I'm such an extremist now in terms of like situations I would expose myself to or whatever, because I feel like I don't know what that switch is yet. For a lot of women, I saw it to be children. I saw it to be the men that they had children for. And then that switch just went. And maybe that's why I always tell people I don't want children, and I still feel like I don't have a natural desire to have children, but maybe that's connected to that.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not a therapist, or just for the record, I'm not a therapist or like, you know, a psychiatrist or anything, but I feel like you've had such a traumatic childhood growing up, and you didn't really bond with your parents like that, just from what you've told me. And I think maybe that's probably why you're not really you say you're not really in a rush to have a child. You don't have a desire. You don't have a desire to have children, and you know that motherly thing that most people have inside them. That's, I know it's an instinct, but at the same time it's learned. So like, you know, when you're growing up in a loving family and that, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so you can then pass that on, but you have had such a traumatic experience that I feel like that's probably why you feel like that. And you know, maybe you can look into that a bit more.
Yeah, maybe not yet. Maybe like when I reach 32s, 35s or whatever, that's the next chapter. But for now, I'm cool operating how I'm operating. It works for me. And I don't think it will be wise, because I don't know. Like I said, even though I grew up, the friends that I grew up, what I saw from the women that I grew up, I don't know not one nurturing woman. I don't know. And I saw women that neglected their kids for man. That's it.
That's nuts.
So, yeah.
You haven't really, So even your environment's not really helping you. You've had everything stacked against you, and you've come out so well. So, where are we going now with your journey?
Well, this year, we're releasing a book, Memoirs of a Daddyless Daughter.
Okay.
I'm also doing a documentary where I'm going back to my first cell in Holloway.
What, you're gonna be in there?
Yeah, before they knock it down. They're knocking Holloway down now.
Oh yeah.
So this year we're doing a project where I'm gonna go back to my first cell.
That's amazing.
In Holloway, and kind of take the audience on that journey. There's a group of us that are doing it, and then after we kind of just discuss our experiences of being there, how we ended up there, you know, but more from a deeper aspect. What else do we have planned this year? And that's it, you know, just keep the operation moving.
Yeah. That's big, man. What I did need to know as well, what advice, and like, this question's a bit mad, but it's not a bit mad, but it's like, what advice would you give to your younger self, or to like other women coming up? But the reason why I say it's a bit mad, because it's like, I don't expect people to just be like, just don't do that. Do you know what I mean? Because people are going to do what they're doing, because everyone's got their own circumstances. But it's like, you know, and I believe some things, as fuckery as it is, and as bad as what you've gone through, it builds you up to become a way better person now, and I believe that you've gone through so much, but you can help so many more people. So maybe, you know, you're meant to go through what you've gone through to get to where you are now. Do you know what I mean? But what advice would you give to young women, or would you give advice to your younger self to do anything different, or what?
I'm asked this question all the time, and the answer always changes. But something that's kind of been weighing on my spirit a lot is that, like, it's not our fault, you know? A lot of the decisions that I made was not my fault. And I judged myself for it. I, like, beat myself up internally. And I still do it. Like, I program myself up so hard on myself. Yeah. But now I've learned how to channel it and make myself better from it. Yeah. But I would just tell, like, my younger self to, like, it's not your fault. And any girl who has experienced just an ounce of the trauma that I talk about in your childhood, just understand that it's not your fault. Be patient with yourself. The hardest thing I feel like it is for us to do in this life is to learn how to love ourselves, you know, and really value ourselves. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. And to live by that, to stand by that, to make sure your principles, your values, everything is aligned with that. Yeah. You have to be patient with yourself. Yeah. So that would be my advice.
That's real, man. That's real. And I want you to touch on the grooming thing, because I know we didn't really touch on it, and there's a lot of grooming going on, where people don't actually know it's grooming. Do you know what I mean? And you don't have to go into your situation or how you felt you got groomed, but like, can you like maybe a bit of advice for people that may be getting groomed, like on the road thing, where they don't know that they're getting groomed? Like, can you explain it a bit?
Well, like I touched on it a bit before when I said, like, when I grew up in care and stuff, because I was living in survival mode, just somebody buying me food or buying me a pair of trainers, or, you know, giving me weed. This is what I see a lot with the girls. Weed, alcohol, you know, filling those holes in your heart to kind of make you feel safe within that situation or within that relationship. Yeah. But one thing I will say as well, you always have that little gut instinct of like, is this real? Like, is real, is this person who they say they are? Is this relationship what they say it is? And if you have that little gut instinct, start to educate yourself on what grooming is, because it's an actual behavioral cycle, and predators tend to feed that need. Yeah. And then trauma bond with you. So I used to do it a lot as well with guys, where like I felt like because I had so much pain within me, because a man had, like, I don't know, lived a gang lifestyle and had seen certain things or whatever, me and his pain could relate. And it's not that. Do you understand? Yeah. And then you start relating and swapping trauma stories. Yeah. But when you do this with predators, they throw it back at you very quickly. Yeah. They start trying to beat you up because now you've opened up yourself and told them,
dashing in your face now.
Exactly. Oh, you were sexually abused or whatever. Next thing you know, the man's calling you a slag every other day or every moment he can get. Do you get what I'm saying? Just like probing at that wound. The trauma bonding, and then the cycle just goes around. They'll try and like defamate your character and make you feel worse about yourself, and then please again feel like the holes in the heart again and try and feed that with pleasure.
Do you feel like guys know that they're doing this?
No, I don't feel like a lot. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even know it is what it is until later on I became a professional and started doing the work. I feel like a lot of the guys I grew up around, you guys are conditioned when you're living a certain lifestyle to just be manipulative beings. You manipulate every single situation to get your needs met. And that's how you guys are kind of conditioned, if that makes... sorry, I don't mean to say... Not you personally, but man them who come from that lifestyle are also conditioned. And then, like, I remember as well, The Wire came out when we was young or whatever, and that proper showed you how to manipulate and play chess with the road lifestyle. Do you understand? I remember I used to see guys like starting to learn and get excited by the mind games that they were playing and stuff. I don't feel like we're fully aware of it, but that doesn't make you exempt. I feel like we all have a responsibility to be educated around these type of topics. And one thing we do know is when we're exploiting a situation.
Yeah.
when you're exploiting a girl's vulnerabilities, and you know, because she don't have a dad that's looking out for her, or she don't have a family network that's gonna look out for her, and you're putting drugs in her house and you're putting guns in her house, and she's 15, 14, 16,
That's
you
mad.
know what you're on.
Yeah, that's my idea. That's
You know what you're on. And we got to call it for what it is and separate.
You should have like, because I'm going to get onto another subject in a second, but you should have like, I think from when you're like that age, you should have a duty of care, like to say like, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's mad. Yeah, that's absolutely nuts.
I remember being like 15, I had guns in my house that was the same height as me.
Yeah. That's mad.
Do you understand?
Yeah. It's
the same height as me. So these guys know what they're doing. And we have to like kind of, there's so many layers to these type of conversations, but we have to kind of separate them and put everything in its own little compartment. But I feel like a lot of the issues that we deal with as daddyless daughters when it comes to grooming and exploitation, only men can solve those problems. It takes only a positive male role model can come and teach a girl her worth. Do you understand? And like, and also those positive men can only hold other men accountable for what they're doing on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. So in regards to that, so my couple videos ago, I was speaking to somebody, and we spoke about grooming, and like I got a bit of backlash about it, cause like, but we're not talking about with the female. We're talking about these, you know, the man them that send man OT and that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's also grooming as well.
Yeah.
Though.
But I still don't see it like that, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
Because of my own experience, basically, I've been on the road for a long time, but I did get a lot of backlash. Everyone's telling me it is grooming, so it is. We are educating each other, but so what I'm saying is like, when we was younger, growing up, obviously you wanted nice things and da. And as you were speaking, I was seeing some similarities. Like you said, he bought you food or he bought you trainers or whatever, and that is, I would say that is grooming. But I mean, like, you know, like if you are aspiring because of marketing, for example, like you might want a Versace, or you might want nice trainers or Nike, or do you know what I mean, or whatever. Yeah, if you're aspiring for that, and then but you've got no way of getting that because you don't know about working, you don't know about, do you know what I'm saying, about other things, and then you say, look, right, can I jump on, and you're getting paid £5 a week, and you're thinking, as a kid, you're thinking £5 a week, that's going to be able to pay for whatever, you're not paying, you ain't got no rent to pay, nothing like that, do you know what I mean? And for me, I just feel like, I know there is a duty of care for the big man to say no, do you know what I mean? I agree with that if the person's too young, but I feel like if you're like 17, 18, or maybe like, and you want to do it, I don't understand how that can be defined as grooming. Maybe you can educate me right now.
Do you know why you don't see it like that? Because what gives a man a sense of self, is external. It's cars, it's a good thriving career, it's being able to make things happen for his family. What gives a woman a sense of self is internal, it's relationships, it's she builds, it's nurturing, it's all those kind of things. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what's, I feel like, blocking you from seeing that is because you're a man. Your sense of self is built on those very things that we're talking about. So it's hard for guys to see when men will look at a little boy and say, yeah, he's gonna have the opportunity to build himself up, because that's how boys build themselves up. That's how boys become men. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay, so my thing is, because I've from a young age, I've ran my own line. Haven't worked for anybody. I've ran my own line and everything like this, and I've had my friends working on the line or whatever, and you know, and I've never forced it on anyone. And to be honest with you, if like, why, I don't understand. Like they say, some people, I've heard some documentary like they got shot as standing outside of schools trying to find kids and send them. But I just can't believe that. I just cannot believe that. Maybe it is happening, but I just cannot believe that, because as a shotter, if you are actually a shotter and you're doing your thing, why are you gonna get a child to handle your business? Like, and obviously a child that has nothing to do, that doesn't want that life. Do you know what I mean? Why would you have him handling your business? That's why it just never really made sense to me. I've never put it on anybody to do it. I've always been asked.
The things that make us attracted to that, we have to recognize.
But then
the vulnerabilities in that, right?
But what makes you attracted to it is things like the music, or like, you know, you're seeing things, yeah, and like, you know, trappers and rappers talking about trap, and people are aspiring to be like that, and they might know a man that does it, but I just can't really get it through me that how that's grooming. I just don't. I just can't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't understand how that.
I'll put it to you like this as well. Yeah, you see, like if you just have sex with a girl who's underage, this is just paedophilia. It could be. There's laws around it in terms of the age gap and all that kind of stuff. It's very similar. If this young person is under the age of 18, this is grooming. There's no discussion really around it. Do you get what I'm saying? Because this child has not mentally developed themselves where they can make informed decisions. You as an adult, or you as somebody who's over 18 who has the ability to make informed decisions, knows the consequences of what they're getting themselves into. This child cannot fathom it if they're under the age of 18. Just, you know, biologically, the way the brain develops.
I agree with that though.
So that's where the grooming aspect comes from. You don't actually have to be like a manipulative predator or whatever. You just have to allow the children to get what I'm saying, because they're not at a like you're saying, they're impressionable. So anything we show them, they're impressed by. These things are not to be impressed by. You know the things that come with that life. So I feel like
I totally agree with that. I do believe that, like I said before, I do believe there should be a duty of care. I've never had anyone underage work for me or anything when I was doing my thing. I've never done that in my life, cause that's just, there's no morals there. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I agree with you. If they are underage, they haven't got the right mind to make that decision. So you do have a duty of care to say, no, nah, bro, go kick football or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of men should be doing that. But
there's like men who will know, like, a young kid isn't grown up in a single parent household, don't really see money like that or whatever. They're coming around these kids with flashy cars, glorifying it. They're implanting seeds. They're trying to impress kids. It doesn't make sense. Then for these kids to get attracted to the lifestyle so you can put them on, that's grooming. You get what I'm saying? There's
I think
a proper method behind it.
Yeah, I think that is. Do you know what? Maybe I'm just confused by it because my own experience on it is like, when I did get into selling drugs or whatever, like, I was obviously in school and I just, people's like, you know, I'd be hanging out about my mates, and then these people just come up to me like, have you got weed, mate? And then it's like, all right, I might as well just buy it. These guys keep asking me, might as well start it, and then from there, I just kind of, that's why I've done it myself kind of thing. And then with everyone that was working on my line and that, those were friends. So I've never really said to I would never have that's counterproductive for me to have a 16-year-old guy into country with your drugs and that. Do you know what I mean? It don't make sense. I would never do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but we have to understand the other side of the conversation, where a man who wants to protect his drugs or whatever, he will purposely find that 16-year-old kid because he feels like nobody's going to stop that kid.
They do that with women a lot as well.
Yeah.
Like, a man might be driving to a country and have a woman there car. You know, if you get pulled over, they're probably not going to search the woman. But nowadays they are. So it's like,
it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, exactly. But that was big, Aliyah, man. It's a really good interview. It's really insightful. I would urge everybody to go and check her out. It's proper good stuff. The Hub. Come down to the Hub if you got any trainers.
Yeah, it's in Brixton Village. We're accepting trainer donations.
Yeah. Do a lot for the community as well. I'm going to put all her links in the description, everything. So go follow her up and follow her journey. It's a really interesting one. Delinquent Nation.
Thank you for having me.
That was sick. Yeah.